everyone, it's Tracy, and I wanted to jump onto Stephen Bright's tarot tag. Stephen Bright of Tiferet Tarot, hashtag 22 faves, because I thought this would give me the most excellent excuse to go through a bunch of my decks, which I went through almost all of them, and pick out some of my favorite cards. It did take me 2.5 hours to go through my cards and pick some favorites. It would have been really easier if I had said I picked maybe 5 or 6 of my favorite decks and then just pulled the major arcana from those particular decks, but I tried to mix it up a little bit because I do have quite a bit of a collection. So I wanted to mix it up a little bit and give you a little variety. But it was hard, and I do have some where I've got more than one card from the same deck. But anyway, I will just jump in and get started. I really appreciate Stephen putting this tag out there because this has been so much fun. So we'll get started. Now, what I was supposed to do was pick a favorite of each of the major arcana cards from various decks that I have in my collection. So we will start with the Fool. This is the Fool card from Le Grand Circus and Sideshow Tarot. And here, I'll show you the box real quick. That's the box. Doing this at a little bit of an odd angle on my iPad so that you can really see the cards. I think this is a really highly underrated deck. It's really got fantastic imagery in it. It is a Rider-Waite-Smith deck. It gives you the Rider-Waite-Smith meanings, but it definitely gives you a different layer on there in addition to the one that you're used to seeing. And I just love that this clown is just walking along blissfully on the nose of a tiger, or a lion, excuse me, on the nose of a lion, not even realizing that he's about to step off that lion's nose into his mouth with all those sharp teeth. Really love that card. Then my favorite magician card comes from the Heart and Hands Tarot. And I love this magician card because he is not just, he's creative. You see he's holding paintbrushes. He's also got cards in his hand, and he's got a few cards up his sleeve. So he is the creator and the trickster all in one. And I really, really love him. He's holding a palette down here at the bottom. Just love that magician card. My favorite High Priestess comes from the Tarot of Transformation. And I love this sort of see-through image of a woman lifting up a veil and letting you behind the veil. And the veil has all sorts of symbols all around it. I really love that card. The Empress. This is the Empress from the Pagan Otherworlds. I tend to like my Empresses as power figures rather than Earth Mothers. And I had several of those types of ruling Empresses as opposed to Mother Empresses to choose from. But the Pagan Otherworlds, let's face it, the artwork is just exquisite. And she has such an amazing expression on her face of just like serene control. Really, really love her. My Emperor card, I went a bit traditional. And I went with the Delos Tarot Emperor card. He is, it's funny, I like my women strong and my men a little soft. So I picked him because he has a bit of a softness to him. He's not quite as stern looking, but at the same time he's not, some of the decks had sort of a fatherly figure in it, and I didn't want to go for the fatherly figure. I wanted a real emperor. But this one is a little bit softer. I really like him. I think he's adorable. My favorite Hierophant card absolutely comes from the Ellis deck. Here we have a sort of a guru type figure sitting up on books He has the keys and the hand gesture, but he doesn't, you know, he doesn't remind me specifically of a Christian church sort of Hierophant. I love the books that he's sitting on though. The Lover's card was actually the toughest one for me to pick because I'm not really drawn to any of the Lover's cards that I've seen out there in particular. I did love the coloring on the Lover's card in the Golden Rider Tarot. It's a beautiful painting. The Chariot, I picked the Chariot from the Everyday Witch Tarot. I could have picked a half a dozen cards from the Everyday Witch Tarot, but I tried to limit myself to just the one. And this one I love. She's riding a motorcycle and she's got directional signs and she's got to make a choice. She's got to make a choice quickly. I love that card. I think that is so cool. My favorite Strength card comes from the Tarot of the Magical Forest. I mean, who couldn't love that? With the lamb and the lion just snuggling up to one another. The trust and the courage on the lamb's part to get that close to the lion, and the courage paid off because the lion just snuggled. My favorite Hermit, absolutely from the Hesychos Tarot. I just love him. He looks like he is turning around to the group that is following him, or the few people that are following him, saying, hey, are you coming? Because I'm not going to wait for you, so let's go. And I love the thought of the Hermit as a beacon, not just a solitary figure, but an actual a beacon of inspiration and learning. So I love that he is actually looking, I think he's looking at some additional people and not looking away at the horizon. And here is my favorite Wheel of Fortune card. This comes from the Tarot of Prague. It has a wheel that shows a bunch of different kinds of life situations that could occur depending on where the wheel lands. It's just beautiful. If I can catch the gold on the Tarot of Prague. You know, this is the 3rd edition and it has all that gold foiling. It's just beautiful in person. You can't see it so much on camera. For Justice, I tend to break rules occasionally, and for Justice I actually picked 2 because I just couldn't pick one. And the one I picked simply and completely for artistic value was the Justice card from the Pagan Otherworlds Tarot, because I think that is just a beautifully painted card. She's just beautiful. The Justice card that I picked for its ability to get the message across to me the best was this Justice card from the Cook's Tarot. And the Cook's Tarot is all about food and eating and that sort of thing. And here is Justice. And Justice is when you get on the scales. My favorite Hanged Man, it took me a while to find him, but once I found him, it was like, oh yeah, duh. This is the Hanged Man from the Mythic Tarot. And in the Mythic Tarot, the Hanged Man is Prometheus. And in the legends, Prometheus took fire from the gods and gave it to man, knowing full well that he would be punished for that act. And his sacrifice to give man fire is represented in this Hanged Man card. This is not the new Mythic, that's the original Mythic. My very favorite Death card I picked simply because of the aesthetics. We're back to the Hesychos Tarot. I think that is the most beautiful Death card ever. The animal skull, the human skull, the flowers growing up in between it, and then the little moth. For the transition. Oh, God, the colors are gorgeous. There were a lot of great Death cards in my collection, and it was hard to pick the Death card that I liked best. For Temperance, I broke the rules again and I actually picked two. My very favorite Temperance card for understanding and meaning is the Temperance card from the Ellis deck. You can see we have a two-headed creature here that has a male and a female head. We've got the balance of the fire and the water, but there's only one set of legs. And you have the angel wings mimicked from the Lover card and these bat wings down at the bottom and a sun at the top and a moon at the bottom. It's just all about balance and bringing opposites together, and I really, really love it. I love it. I love it. But I had to give an honorable mention to the Temperance card from the Chrysalis Tarot, simply because I think that is one of the most beautiful pieces of art ever. You know, it's definitely showing you balance, because you have basically a mirror image or a reverse image. But oh my gosh, that's pretty. My favorite Devil card, I picked two again. My first one is from the Steampunk Tarot, the Llewellyn Steampunk Tarot, and I have trimmed this deck. This was the first Devil card I came across that truly made me understand what the Devil was. And what I see here is a machine that has been made by man. It's a man-made machine that has come to control the creators of the machine. And I think about my iPhone every time I look at this card. But then there's a second Devil card that I also absolutely love. This is from the Touchstone Tarot by Cat Black, simply because that man's face is fantastic. I mean, isn't he just saying, "Oh, little girl, come with me into the woods," like the wolf from Into the Woods. I love him. He's so fantastic. Picking a favorite Tower card was hard. The Tower card is my second most difficult card to deal with in the tarot deck. I picked the Tower card from the Idiosyncra deck because I thought it really spoke to me about the Tower and what the Tower could be. And you've got a volcano here, and a volcano, you never know when it's going to erupt, but it's a natural occurrence. And if you have enough sense, you won't live near the volcano. I really like that Tower card, and I understand that Tower card. I had a hard time with the Star card as well, because they all seem to be very, very similar. But I picked this. It's actually the Stars from the Botticelli, or some people call it the Golden Botticelli. It's got a lot of gilding in the, I don't think I can make it stand out. But this deck has a lot of beautiful gilding in it. And it makes me think of the Three Graces. You know, faith, hope, and charity. Just think it's beautiful. The favorite Moon card, this was the easiest one for me to pick. This is the Moon card from the Touchstone Tarot. And it is because of the image. It's such an amazingly huge, beautiful moon. Lovely woman. We've got a turbulent sea back here in the background, reminding you that the moons control, moons, we only have one on Earth anyway, that the moon controls the tides, and she's holding this crab in her hand. And the funny thing about the crab that she's holding in her hand is it makes me think of my nephew. He's 1 year old, well, 13 months, and he holds things in his hand and then turns them over and over in his hand, examining them. And that's what this makes me think of. She's examining that crab, looking for its mysteries. My very favorite Sun card, very easy. This one was also very easy. This is the Sun card from the Nature Spirit Tarot. And the book that goes with this deck is absolutely fabulous. You can tell by how far away I am. This is a huge deck. Just my favorite Sun card ever. My most difficult card to deal with in the Major Arcana is the Judgment card. It just looks so very Christian to me, and also so, I know it's not supposed to be negative, but it looks like God's going to come down and tell you whether you've been good or bad. And if you've been bad, you're going to hell. And if you've been good, you're going to heaven. And I just don't fly with that. So in the Victorian fairy, here we have awakening. And I love this. It's like this fairy is seeing himself for the first time. He's opening his eyes and really seeing who he is. And yes, judging, but judging himself rather than having some third party judging him. And maybe forgiving himself and moving on. Because see his expression on his face? He's not scared. He's contemplative. And I love it. I really do. And I love daisies. And the last card, my very favorite world card, also comes from the Nature Spirit Tarot. I love that tree. That sense of completion in that fully formed tree and the reflection of the tree, and just beautiful. So there we go. Those are my 22 faves. And that's today, because you know, tomorrow I could get a new deck and my favorites will once again change. So thanks for watching, everybody, and have a lovely day.